Video games. The cultural phenomenon that has brought together and lifted the communal tides of society, giving us a place to act out our fantasies, accomplish new goals, and engage with each other in a way never before possible. Invented in 1310 by Jonathan Games, these experiences allow us to strive for excellence, push ourselves to new personal bests, forge new friendships, and then tear those friendships apart. Welcome to Demo, a series where we take a look at the demos from the latest games coming to PC and console this year so you don't have to. Today we're taking a look at Megaloot, an addictive inventory management roguelike RPG where meticulous loot management lets you create diverse and powerful builds for each run. Let's check it out. Megaloot features a cohesive presentation and its simplicity, but it is almost a little too simple. You choose from a collection of heroes with various stat lines as you delve deep into the dungeons to battle evil. You're given an in-screen game experience with the battlefield and the inventory menu married into one, as you choose your equipment loadouts to best service your fights against a never-ending slew of monsters. There's a lack of text information beyond tooltips that leaves the battle screen feeling a little barren, though simple presentations like Balatro are famous for how straightforward they are, so to each their own on this one. Megaloot's visual style does feel unified. All the character designs and loot designs feel handmade by a single person. Borrowing from the old JRPG menu style, the UI can feel a bit too hands-off and causes a little confusion through the use of too many symbols. This takes time to adjust to and can cause you to lose fights without knowing exactly why. Now, in retrospect, I believe this category actually deserves a higher rating than I initially gave it, as the music is well composed and interesting, featuring a perfectly suitable suite of songs that fit the theme and setting of a medieval-style dungeon, ripe with mystery and intrigue, tension and danger. If I could go back, I would bump this up to a rating of good instead of lax. My problem was mostly with the sound effects, while not bad specifically, had seemingly a mixing issue or an overuse problem that just makes them feel repetitive and grating after a while. That being said, everything you would expect to have a sound does. Little clicks and blips on the UI buttons feel nice, and the audio language does have a cohesiveness to it. Although when you're in fast-forward mode, all of the sounds can jumble up together into what can become a bit of a wall of sound. It might be that the music and sound just feel a little dissimilar, that I found myself wanting something a bit different from what was presented. The music is lush and high fidelity, while the sound effects are done in a scratchy 8-bit style. And the two aren't terrible together, but it feels like one should be doing something different to match the other. The controls in Megaloot are very straightforward. You rely on your inventory here, coupled with the loadout of item types that you select. Much of the information is presented in the form of tooltips, so you simply have to hover over the items you wish to use, and everything you need to know is shown there. This helps inform your gameplay, although the gameplay part itself is largely just turn-based automation. There's also a problem with the iconography being a little bit confusing at first glance. The game follows a similar style to a favorite of mine called Loop Hero, with the player being responsible for equipping the proper items between battles in order to survive and overcome encounters. Getting familiar with the equipment is all that stands in your way from victory, well, that and the RNG gods. The enemies get harder on a smooth curve, and any action happening is really up to the player's choosing. This can make for a slow or fast experience, but overall is a pretty solid system. Though it is a well-put-together game, there wasn't really much to the systems that beg the player to return. The different character trait options are interesting for quick play, but there doesn't seem to be an overarching progression to work towards, and any consequence is sort of downplayed in the long run. We certainly see more battle clicker games these days, and this game particularly seems geared towards the idle clicker mobile market. With that said, it's a simple enough package to be effective while still borrowing off of the backs of similar titles in the genre. During the playthrough, the game definitely provides a nice feeling. This does take a bit of a learning curve, but anyone familiar with this type of game style will likely be able to sink in and turn their brain off for a few runs with no problems. I just wish there was a bit more meat to the experience. It feels like a fairly flat gameplay loop where the fun is in the inventory management and less in the battles. Megaloot has its strengths in a satisfying loop of equipping more and more powerful items in hopes of defeating various enemy types. This cycle does get predictable, but in a way still feels rewarding when you win a tough fight. Its cons, however, lie in the seeming lack of long-term progression. There's not much beyond the initial gameplay loop to keep the player engaged, the UI elements can also feel a bit overwhelming, and the fights tend to get a bit predictable, to the point where you're just putting the game on 4 times speed to get through them. For the money, this game is certainly in the realm of being worth the buy if you are a fan of the sort of idle inventory management games. If it releases on mobile, it's a great game for a car ride. While I would like to see more interactivity in the UI and presentation, perhaps in the form of a narrative or text elements that explain a bit more about what is happening on screen, and the jumble of the UI confetti can be a bit disorienting, as it doesn't feel exactly obvious what's happening on screen. But for a demo, this is definitely worth giving a go to see if you like it. I support this genre and hope to see more improvements and innovations in the future. Megaloot is available now for $9.99 and it released August 30th of 2024. Go check it out. Thanks for watching this episode of Demo. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.